Well, how was practice today?
It was good. We've had a lot of energy yesterday and today. Guys came out, confident, and biggest thing is I think they're having fun. Enjoying playing, whatever. And that's all you can ask of.
How is it dealing with your group this year? It seems like some moving parts, guys coming in and out of the lineup. What's it been like to manage that whole thing?
A lot of moving parts. As you say, we had some youth in that group. We've got a couple guys that started out that are no longer with us and have had to, utilize some guys that we didn't think going into the season we'd utilize. And, so it's been, more developing the young guys and taking the older guys and letting them play. And really when we started this season, we were trying to find, the best out of that guy. We used the first couple of games, as competition to see who would rise to the top. We got an injury here. Everything happened with Coach getting fired. And then now, we're down one of the guys due to injury. So we've had to get some of the young guys to step up. So the older guys are doing a really good job of helping me to bring those guys along.
How has T. Will done so far? I know cornerback was sort of new to him when he got to college. How's that development been over the last couple of years?
It's been steady. The first year he got here, he was beat up bad. He had 2 injuries, had to get a surgery, so he didn't get a chance to get a lot of reps. And then last year, he played behind Mansour and Dorian, got a little bit of mop-up duty here and there, but was still just really learning the position. And he started his first game in the bowl game last year, came into the season, just still trying to find his way. But, being an offensive player all his life, he had to really learn everything. Terminology, mindset, mentality, and all the things that you learn even when you play defensive back in high school, he's had to learn. But, he's a really good athlete, and he's a really good football player. So he's still in the very beginning stages of learning the position.
So he did play some safety in high school, correct?
Yeah, he played some safety, but it was more kind of in the middle of the field and run right, run left. I watched him play a couple of times, but, it wasn't just learning route concepts and being able to identify splits and all the stuff that you incorporate into it on this level.
When a guy is so new to the position like that, what is sort of the last thing that comes to him there? Is there a part that's easier at cornerback at first, and then when you get to the advanced part, that comes later?
No, I really think all of it, because, you have to teach them to tackle. You have to teach them how to tackle. You have to teach them, backpedaling. You have to teach them to do something completely opposite of what they've always done. And, even him, just teaching him, how to judge the ball and when to look back for the ball and just things he never had to worry about because he always looked at those things from an offensive perspective. So it's really been ground zero with him from day one, teaching him everything. And he's done a really good job. The thing about T. Will, man, he's a very, very hard worker. He's committed to it. He does a lot of stuff on his own, trying to get better. And, you've seen him get better week by week. So I'm glad, we're really happy with the progress that he's made.
He said his mentality when playing running back is he knows when he's going to get the ball and knows when to make a play. At cornerback, you don't know when the ball's going to come to you. How did you have to make sure his mentality is always to stay on his toes because the ball can come your way, especially if you make a mistake?
Yeah, playing offense, they hand you the ball and nature takes over. The ability that you have, the instincts that you have, and it just comes natural to you. When you're playing defensive back, some of it's natural, but a lot of it is learning. You have to know when to do a lot of things, but more importantly, you have to know when not to do a lot of things. Probably one of the most important aspects of playing cornerback in particular is eye discipline. That's something you don't have to worry about on the offensive side of the ball because a lot of the mistakes that you make playing defensive back, especially corner, are having your eyes in the wrong place. Knowing what to do. Just being able to get in front of a guy and looking at a certain body part to see when it moves to be able to move another part of your body. So it's a lot of things you have to think about playing cornerback, whereas when you're playing offense, you don't have to think as much. You just do what comes naturally to you.
I think Krim is right in 4 games for his freshman season. Are you at the point where you have to sit down and talk to these guys about, hey, what are we doing the rest of the way? Are we going to play you? Are you going to sit down? How does that work?
I wish I was, but considering the fact right now we only have 5 scholarship cornerbacks, there's not a whole lot we can do other than play these guys. And we've had these conversations. I'm very close with my group. I've recruited all of these guys, so, I'm in tight with their parents. So we've had these conversations. And, going into the year, we thought we would probably be able to redshirt both JoJo and Jamari. But with everything that's happened, they're in the mix right now. And my group is banged up. JoJo's a little bit banged up, so having 6 more games, you can't predict what may happen. So those guys are prepared to play, and they're okay doing that.
What are you seeing for Georgia tackle?
They are really, really good offensive football team. You know, they run the football well, which allows them to be able to control the clock. The quarterback commands the offense, does a really good job of giving what the defense, or taking what the defense gives him. They have two good running backs. I think 1 and 0 are both really talented backs. You know, they can take it the distance. Their receiving core, athletic. Number 4 is a bigger body guy that can catch the ball downfield. 3 and 8 both do a really good job of catching screens, you know, kind of running plays that they use within their offense. But they've got weapons a lot of different places. And probably one of the most impressive things I've seen is the athleticism of the offensive line. You know, the offensive line does a really good job of getting to the next level, getting out in space, and being able to get on blocks. And oftentimes, the bigger guys are not as good at that, but obviously they've recruited those type of athletes to be able to do it. So that poses some problems for the second-level guys.
You were obviously very close to Coach Prime before this. What's this whole process been like you personally through this? I feel like business-wise, this is the business we've chosen type of thing.
No doubt.
Understand the score, but from a personal standpoint, how has it been?
You know, it's been any transition. And, you know, for me, 26 years in the business, I've been through this before. And I've actually been through this with friends before. So, you know, the thing when something like that happens, you just continue to be a friend. And that's what I've done. We continue to talk. We continue to communicate. And, you know, he's cheering for us. We still do date night together, and we still communicate together because, you know, life goes on. You know, we all understand, you know, in this business, it's about winning and losing ball games. And we didn't win enough ball games. But that doesn't mean that, you know, we don't appreciate the opportunity at Virginia Tech. We don't love our players, and we don't love what we're doing right now. So, you know, I've talked to him on multiple occasions. He's rooting for us every week, and, you know, hoping for the best for him.
You mentioned about their offensive line getting to the second level. How important is it going to be for your group, especially the tackle, especially in open space, with the screens and how they like to get those playmakers the ball in advantageous positions?
Well, really important because that's one of the reasons that they do that. You know, we're smaller body guys, you know, getting on the bigger body guys, and we don't see that often, you know, especially as often as they run their screen game. So we've worked this week, watched a lot of film, and teaching my guys and trying to show them the importance of being able to not engage on blocks, being able to avoid blocks, and being able to get the ball turned back inside to our guys that can make the tackles. Oftentimes what they want to do is get you sealed, get outside of you, which changes the pursuit angles of everybody else. So we've got to do a really good job of being able to take on those guys in space but not getting engaged with them because our bodies doesn't match their bodies.